Hey everyone, it's Julie, and I am on to do a quick review of the True Heart Intuitive Tarot by actress Rachel True. And she is known for movies like The Craft, and I'm talking the original 90s version and not the recent one that came out, which I haven't seen yet, by the way. And she also did the movie Half Baked, and the art is by Stephanie Singleton. And this deck was another library loan from the gracious Queen Osset. And I will leave a walkthrough of this deck that she has up on her channel, Oya's Girl, in case you're interested, because this is a review, and so I am not going to dive into the guidebook and show you that and, flip through all the cards. I'm basically going to just kind of chat about, what I like about this deck and what I don't. So I was initially on the fence with this deck just because the images, they really pulled me in, and also there were a lot of eyes. Not to sound like Laura from Aquamarine 18, but there were a lot of eyes. So I'm so grateful that Queen Osset offered this loan, and I meant to hold off working on it or working with it until November because I wanted to focus on the Edgar Allan Poe tarot, but I couldn't resist. I totally failed, and I started working with it maybe a couple days after receiving it, while still also working on the Poe tarot. And I'll tell you up front, I absolutely adore this deck. And I went ahead and bought myself a copy at the end of October. So my copy is what you will be seeing in this video. In terms of packaging, for a mass market $30 retail value deck, this is a little bit lackluster, given that I personally feel that for mass market, $30 is on the high end. And as you can see, I've only had this copy for a few days, and already I'm starting to see some, kind of quality issues. I mean, this isn't sexy or anything. And it's designed so that we have the deck split into two, which I know bothers a lot of people. Now, I personally do not keep my deck in boxes like this, so doesn't bother me too much. I keep my decks in bags, but I do know that a lot of you do store your decks in these boxes along with the guidebook and then put them on your shelf. So just something to keep in mind. I do think that, so this is Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is the publisher. And so I do think that perhaps they are not as experienced with maybe publishing tarot decks. Either way, I don't know, maybe some more audience analysis could have been done, but So some highlights of the guidebook, which I think overall is a great guidebook. What I particularly loved is that we have several spreads that you can try here. Now, I've already done spreads like this in the past, the Celtic Cross in the past, present, future. This is a new one for me, the 11 card Mother Peace spread. I have mentioned in the past that I am not in love with really long spreads. And this is what seems to be kind of a twist on the Celtic Cross in terms of the kinds of prompts that you see here. And I don't love the Celtic Cross at all. But I decided to try this because I've heard a lot of great things about this Mother Peace spread. And so I gave it a shot, and I really had a very spot on reading. It actually kicked me in the ass, and I was kind of dreading this long drawn out reading, but actually it's like I flipped over one card and it's like, boom, yes. Like each card that I flipped over, it was an immediate, oh, I know exactly what this card is supposed to, is referring to. I know exactly what this card is saying to me. So this was a a great experience. And then I also did try, let's see here, I did try the True Heart 5-card insight spread, and this was actually written by Rachel True herself, and so this was another good spread. And then another highlight for me is that with the majors, the descriptions are a bit longer than the minors, which isn't uncommon, and that is in part due to the fact that Rachel True provides like a story, a personal narrative, a personal narrative from her life to coincide with the card that's being discussed. And I found those narratives to be very engaging. They really did a great job of kind of illustrating the fool's journey. And so I wished she had done that for the minors as well, because I really enjoyed reading those pieces. And another thing I would have loved is just more discussion of some of the artistic choices. When I did the initial flip through of the deck, by myself, for several cards, there were certain details that really jumped out at me and that I wanted to know more about. And so I went flipping into the guidebook and really didn't find much in the way of that kind of explanation. And I did watch a video. It was a conversation between Cree Summer. She's another actress, and she was on the show A Different World. That pretty much dates me, but I loved that show, so it was very nostalgic. And anyway, so Rachel True and Cree Summer were having this discussion about her deck, and I will try to link that if I remember. But Rachel True does say that for the illustrations, she had the concepts in mind, and so she would send the concepts of each card, to, I guess, the publishing company, maybe the editor, who would then pass it on to the artist that they hired, Stephanie Singleton. And so there would be this back and forth between the two, with, the publishing company as the go-between. And so I would have loved some more explanation about the intentions behind these artistic choices, because that's one of the things I love when I read a guidebook to a tarot deck. But all in all, a great guidebook in my opinion. Here's the deck, and these are the backs, which I love. I think the colors are great, and the design is great as well. For the cardstock, I don't personally mind the thinness of the cardstock. I'm able to riffle, shuffle, and bridge this deck. But because this material feels more like, I guess, papery, and it doesn't feel like plain cardstock, if that makes sense. And so I'm a little concerned that if I'm not careful, that this is the type of cardstock that could easily crease. So that's just something to consider, just to be a little more careful when you are shuffling the deck. And then another thing which doesn't bother me at all, but I'm just showing you because I know that for some of you this would bother you, is that the deck, at least my copy, is not cut perfectly even in terms of the edge. So again, this does not affect my shuffling. I don't find this like so egregious that, I can identify which cards are sticking out more than the rest. It's just a very, very slight. And, I know that this is something that does bother some people. So just putting that out there. Now let us discuss how effing amazing this deck is, shall we? I think that Rachel True killed it with the concept designs for these images, and then Stephanie Singleton killed it with her art. And this is actually supposed to be Rachel True herself as the Empress. I love how colorful the images are. This is one of my favorite images, actually, even though it's the Nine of Swords. You have eyes here, and it didn't bother me. You know, the whole, like, lots of eyes, more eyes. Lots of eyes did not bother me, as I thought it might. This is an example of how, you know, there's a little bit of a creep factor in some of these images, or at least in my opinion, and I personally enjoy that. So we do have instances where, yeah, several of the cards diverge from the traditional imagery a little bit, and in very interesting ways. Like, for instance, this Five of Swords. So for me, I just love how, you know, this is an RWS, and it's a crisp, clean read for me, and it has that eccentric flair. And this is contemporary and simultaneously timeless. So, you know, 2-3 years down the line, I don't think this deck would feel outdated. I appreciate that the images show racial and ethnic diversity. I can see myself in some of these images, which, you know, that means a lot to me. And I would have loved to have seen more diversity in terms of LGBTQIA+, in terms of body size and shape. Most of these figures are slender. You know, maybe see more differently abled bodies, more in terms of age range. So we do have like a wise elder figure here, but he's like one of the only ones in this deck. Most of the archetypes are quite youthful. And I absolutely love this deck. So, do I recommend this deck? Absolutely. Abso-effing-lutely. Thank you to Rachel True for a really fantastic deck. And I also, I think it's great that, you know, Hutton Mifflin Harcourt is supporting, you know, creators that are POC. So I hope you all are well. If you have this deck, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until the next video, much love, take care.